نانو راديو دمص ኤርትራ DC እዩ راديو دمص ኤርትራ DC ቀዳም በመንገድ መርበብ ሓበሬታ ኣብ voiceoferitра.com ወይውን በመንገድ YouTube ተቀማጡ ዋሽንግተን ዲሲን ከባቢያን ከምኡውን ንመላእ ዓለም ይፍነው ورات تخطاتلتن سمعتن ريا خمي كان يخوم كاب دمصخم بخنات راديو دمص ኤርትራ እናበርኩ ናይሎሚ ቀዳም ጥሪ 18 እስራኤልን ሓሙሽተን ወይ ድማ 18th of January 2025 መሰናዶ ዜናና ነው ምክትልኩም ድማ በአኽብሮት ይዕድም ቀዳማይ ዜና ካብ ከተማ ኣስመራ ኤርትራ ካልኣይ የኤርትራን ቅርኒ ኣፍሪቃን ዘመልከተ ፖለቲካ በቶማስ ሞንቴን ካልእን ተጠቃለለ ይኸውን እዩ አሞን በደባታ استفላለዩ ምልክታን ሓበሬታን ከምኡውን ንኣኻትኩም መዘናጋይ ዝገልና ሙዚቃን ኣዳሊና ኣሎና ኣብዚ ናይ ሎማዓንቲ መደባትና ምሳና ሓቢርኩም ክትሰንሑ እንዳተላበኹ ሰናይ ምክትታል ክኾነልኩም ብስም ቦርድ ድምፂ ኤርትራ DC ይምነየልኩም ሰናይ ምክትታል
ينافقك عاد ينافقك عاد
كابزي كاب واشنطن DC راديو دمص ኤርትራ ዝመሓላለፍ ዘሎ መደባትኩም ተከታተሉ ዘለኹም ክቡራት ሰማዕትና በመቀጠል ዜና ካብ ከተማ ኣስመራ ነው
መምሕዳር ዞባ ደቡብ ባቂሕ ባሕሪ ዓመታዊ ገምጋም ብምክያድ ኣብ ውጥን ስራሕ 2025 ዘትዩ ኣብ ዞባ አንሰባ ቁጥሪ ናይ ካልኣይ ደረጃ ኣብያተ ትምህርቲ ብ32 ሚእታዊት ዓብዩ ኣብ ዞባ ደቡብ ዕውት ንጥፈታት ምድሓን ቅርስታት ከም ተኻይደ ተገሊጹ ኣውስትራልያ ወታደራዊ ዓቕማን ብድንፋዕ ተካይዶ ንጥፈታት ከም ተሕይሎ ኣፍሪጣ ሰርቢያ ሸመተ ባህርያዊ ጋዝ ሩስያ ንምቕጻል ሓድሽ መስመር ክትሓንጽ ምዃና ሓቢራ ብሪጣንያ ጠንቂ ጸጥታዊ ዘይምርግጋእን ግጭታትን ዓለም ኮይና ከም ዘላ ኢራን ወቂሳ ዝርዝር ዜና መምሕዳር ዞባ ደቡብ ባቂሕ ባሕሪ ኣብ 2024 ዝዓመሞ ስራሓት ብምግምጋም ኣብ መደባት 2025 ዝዘትየሉ ኣኼባ 15 ጥሪ ኣብ ዓሰብ ኣካይዱ ኣብቲ ገምጋም ኣብ ትግባር መደባት ዝነበረ ብልጫታት ሕፅረታት ቡድሆታትን ንምፍትሑ ዝተገብረ ውሁድ ጻዕርን በተሓደ ኣብዚ ሓድሽ ዓመት ክትግበር ተታሒዙ ዘሎ መደባትን ጽልኡን ድማ በተኻልእ ዝምልከት ጸብጻባትን መደባት ስራሕን ብዝርዝር ቀሪቡን ተዘቲሉን ንንጥፈታት ምግፋፍ ዓሳን ገስካሱን ብዝምልከት ኣብ ዝቐረበ ጸብጻብ ንገፈፍቲ ብዝተገብረ ደገፍን ምትብዓን ምህርቲ ብጀላቡን ኣጋርን ዝተገፈ ዓሳታት ካብቲ ናይ 2023 በኣስታት 56 ሚእታዊት ከም ዝዓበ ኣብ ገማግም ደሴታት ኣብ 50 ሄክታር ካብ ዝተተኸለ ልዕሊ 30,000 ፈልስታት ሾራ ድማ 86 ሚእታዊት ከም ጸደቀ በሪሁም ኣብ ሰፍሐ ክፋል ትዞባ በማእከላይ ገምጋም 182 ሚሊሜትር ዝዓቆኑ ዝናብ ከም ዝሃረመ ብዝናብን ወሓይዝን ዝተሰነየ 210 ሄክታር ከም ዝተሐርሰን ከም ተዘርአን ኣብ 85 ሄክታር ድማ ልምዓት ኣሕምልትን ፍረታትን ከም ተኻይደ እቲ ጸብጻባ ነጺሩ ተሳትፎ ህዝቢ ኣብ መደባት ምዕቃብ ሓመድን ማይን በሓፈሻ ምስራሕ ዛላታት ራያታት ከትርታት ተሕተባይታዊ ባስካታት መልይ ወሓይዝን ጀሪፋትን ከምውን ኣብ ምስራሕን ምጽጋንን መገብቲ ጽርግያታት ልዑል ከም ዝነበረ ኣብ ራሞዳ ንኡዞባ ማእከል ዳንካልያት ስራሕ ዘላ መጠነ ንኡስ ዲጋ ድማ መስርሕ ህንጸታ ብጽቡቕ ይቕጽል ከም ዘለውን ተገሊጾም ኣምሓዳር ዞባ ኣምባሳደር መሐመድ ሰዒድ ማንታይ ኣብ ዝሃቡ ቃል ኣብ ዝሓለፈ ዓመት ንዝተረኣየ ውህደት ኣካላት መንግስትን ግንባርን ዕዙዝ ተሳትፎ ህዝብን ብምጓስ ኣብዚ ዓመት እዝን ኪኒኡን ብዝለዓለ ክቕጽልን ኩሉ ኣካል ብትግሃት ክነጥፍን ከም ዝግባእ ኣገንዚቦም ኣብ ዞባ አንሰባ ቁጥሪ ናይ ካልኣይ ደረጃ ኣብያተ ትምህርቲ ኣብ ውሽጢ 5 ዓመታት ب32 ሚእታዊት ከም ዝዓበ ሓላፊ ኣሃዱ ካልኣይ ደረጃ ኣብያተ ትምህርቲ መምህር ተኽለሰንበት ዘርኣይ ገሊጹ ኣብ ንኡስ ዞባታት ዓዲ ተክሌዛንን ኣስማጥን ሓንቲ ኣብተን ዝተረፋ 7 ንኡስ ዞባታት ድማ ካብ 3 ንላዕሊ ናይ ካልኣይ ደረጃ ኣብያተ ትምህርቲ ከም ዘለዋ ዝሓበረ መምህር ተኽለሰንበት ዝሰፍሐ ከባቢ ስለ ዝሽፍና ንዝነበረ ሕፅረታት ኣቃሊለን ከም ዘለዋ ኣብሪሁም بمصر زوادد زلو تحت قرصي قطرن بقعتن تمحرو عمتاوي ناوسخ ممصو بمتقاس قطري نايتوم ناي 12 كفل تمرتوم كزازمو اب عمت تمرتي 2023 2024 ناب ساوا زوردو تمحرو ناب 1715 كب كم زبله ناي ديغرين دبلوما نتبي زرخبو تمحرون قطرم عبيت يمزغب كم زلو اغنزيبوم نتصاتفو دك انستيو بزملكت دما بزحلفه 3 عامታት ናብ 50 ሚታዊት ከም ዝደየበ ብብቃቱን ዕብየት ከም ዘርአየ ብምሕባር ብንኡስ ዞባታት ገለብ ሓልሓልን ኣስማጥን ግና ውሁድ ስራሕ ከም ዘድሊ ኣነፂሩም ኣብ መወዳእታ መምህር ተክለ ሰንበት ሱፐርቫይዘራት ምሕያል ኣብያተ ትምህርቲ ዓቃንን ብውጥን ዝኸይድን ደገፍ ክገብራ ሰሙናዊ ውጥን መምህራን ብጥብቂ ምክትታል ክግበረሉ ከምኡውን ወለዲ ተማሃሮን ممحرانن نمحياش بقعة تمرتي عتيبهم كسرحو تمحتينهم أبزوب عن سبا أساد 11 شهر تمحروز انقدا إسران حموشتن نايكال أي درجة أبعد تمرتي اللوام أب زوادوب أبقداسنت كرسي زلون قحات حبرتسب براخو أب كلتشن 24 وتت فتات مدحن كرسي كم تخايده وانا دايركتور كفل بحالن سبورتن أتو أبراهام يوحنس بأسرت حموشتري أب كتما من دفرا بزكايدو ركب قليتهم أبتي زتتقص عمد بمتحبار كفلي بحالن سبورتن زوادوبن كيلاتات كوميشن بحالن سبورتن داساساوي متنعتات سنقرسن كوعتان كم تخايده زحبره أتو أبراهام كاب حزبي بيسترخ بحبريتا بإقر مخل عود كوعتا أب عادي ناب كوحيا بيستقيره قرب كا دهساسو مصنعتي كم تجبر ابريهم بزي كازي سنه انتاوي دهساسن مصنعتن اب هم دبر ابن ليبانوسن لحيون كم اون افناوي مصنعتي قرستات اب فورتو كواديرنون كسكسن جلكابتوم زي تسلاسل مدبات كم زخونو انصيروم نتفتات سبورت امريكيتو دما كلبات قدم بشكلتان اتلتيكسن اب مملمال حدث سبورتاوين تصميدن كم زلو اب مبرا حترتاتن مملا ترى أم حدرتي نؤزوباتاتن حلفتي أهودات سبورتن بحالن كعزز تمحتينهم ساتفت بوغنم زباوي بيت مذكر زقوم اللو من قدي كناده أب نؤزوباتات أب نتفتات بحالون لعول أتاكورو كجبر مسرح من صاف ميرا سبورت من دفرا كقلاطه فتره بشكلتات قادمتي كفتح كمون ممعبل سبورت زخون اتاويتات بغب كب تلابيوم ام حدار زوبا دبوب اتو حبت اب تسفاصين اب زحبو مزاز مقال زلو حترتات مفتاح من محدار زوبا بعتوب كم زنطف قليصم دينا وصاي أستراليا وتهدروا عقمان بدنفاع تكايدو نتفتات كم تحيلو أفريقان كم أكل تسقومتي مسائلات التقالة توسخ أطوار كتشمت مخانا منستري مكل خالتا هاجر قريت اللوم هاجرو تساتا زوبا إيسيا باسيفيك نموحاس بفلاي حيل بحرا بعينة متنن كتدنفعو مخانايو اتمنستري حبير زلوم البحري أستراليا سرحت أمريكا زخنا ناي نوي حرقات كروز ميسايل أب واحد حساس كلتشن 24 كم زفتنا زكاريوم اتي زمناوي ميسايل علي كلتشن 500 كيلومتر نزر حق علامة كهرم كم زخل زقلصه منغستي أستراليا أغمي مكل خالو أب مدنفع وتاو ترى كم زهلو أميتيوم أمريكا نتأطوار ناب كالوت هاجرات كشطو قدمي كلت عمتات دحري موسنا أستراليا لعلي كلت ميتي كابتي استراغ أطوار كم زعدقت صبصباتي تقصوم أستراليا أول حنا حسن أي كلتشن 24 SM شدشتز تسمين أي نوي حرقات ميسايل فتنا من براء الزكاريوم تي فتنتات كالوت هاجرات زوبا إيسيا باسيفيك تمساسالي سقمتي كوزدا لدفع مخانو تساتا نايتي كبابي بقالوتا كتصلو كم زخل إئمات ربيات كبار نايتي بمسمر هنغاري بحري او غاز روسيا نمركاب اقديما زبصحتو سممع نمرغغاز سرح كم زلا حبيرام ميركاب لعلي كوبايناتاتن مسمراتن غاز روسيا دحري زتصقطو تدغاغامي اقداتات سربيا قندي غداي نايتي سغومتي كم زخنتي زغلات بزدما بمنجد يوكرين كترخبون زصنحت بحري او غاز روسيا دحري مقراصو مس هنغاري زرخبا حدش مسمر كتوادد تغديدا كم زلا تحبيرم مسمر نمودا زخل سمع اب كلتشن اسران كلتن كم تبصحه تخونه مسرح حنصتو كم تدناغوي صبصبات يردؤم دحري مولع كينات يوكرين اب حيالو هاجرات اوروبا بقندو دما اب صعات روسيا ناي زمركوسا هاجرات اميقلولاو كم زغاطمه يتقاس ناي موداتا زينام بريطانيا طنقي صتاوي زي مرغغان ግጭታትን ዓለም ኮይና ከም ዘላ መንግስት ኢራን ወቂሱም ኢራን ነዚ ዝገለጸት ኣብ ምዕራብ ኤስያ ዘይ ምርግጋ ትፈጥር ከም ዘላ ካብ ብሪጣንያ ድሕሪ ዝመጻ ክስዩም ሚኒስትሪ ጉዳያት ወጻኢ ኢራን ብ15 ጥሪ ኣብ ዝሃቦ ምላሽ ብሪጣንያ ኣብ ውሽጣዊ ጉዳያት ካልኦት ሃገራት በሓፈሻ ኣብ ዞባ ምዕራብ ኤስያ ድማ ብፍላይ ዘይ ሕጋዊ ምትእታው بمفتامن شبراويان بمموالن تصتاوي ጸገማት تفطر كم زلا نصيروم بيروبا زرأ زلو تصتاو زي مرغغا ውጽኢት ናይቲ ብሪጣንያን ገለ መሻርክታን ኣብ ልዕሊ ካልኦት ሃገራት ዝተኸተልኦ ጉጉይ ፖሊስታት ምዃኑ ሚኒስትር ጉዳያት ወጻኢ ኢራን ወቂሱም بريطانيا مس أمريكا بمخان بقداي نيكولاس مدبات حجرو تقربوا كستات كان نايتي أب وشتاو قديات كاروت حجرات تقبروا مد تامخانو تمنيستري بتوسخي أبريهم حجرات معرب قبل علي إيران بزخطر أوزلوا بوليستات مستحجر صنحن دبلوماساوي زي مكراو النخرة ريمت كم زلوت الصبات يحبروم
أقداسي حبريتا ندليت جزا ناي لعل 18 عام تمكرو زلو أو واشنطن ديسن فيرجينيان ميرلاندن فقط زونن بقامقهم زراداكم سامر ريلتر لكم مقدي مسود عدي خمز بحال جزا خدشتون كتجزون مسدليون عقبت عماويلو زغونة مخصبو سامر امبايا يخون مرجعهم ترجم ناي منبار دميقا متان كحلو ميزانا منبري بايتا نتاتح ناتي انبلو جزانا مسهلاونا دسقم كبرو حسنت عبيتنا بدرب مخسب زخحس عبي كركب كم بيتنا اوه مفتح جزاوتنا نعتر مس سمر امباي ريلتر
توسخي حبريتا نقول لكم شيء تجزع ماويلنا بحاجة برسنت راح ملو أقلقلوت كنبوكم تذالينا خمدلنا نحبر
نزيادة حبريتا أبقوز سلكي شوعت 03 كلتا حادة شوعت حادة خلتا 00 اندقنا قطر سلكي شوعت 03 كلتا حادة شوعت حادة خلتا 00 سامر امباي لكم توكسو
We were hearing reports that three Azerbaijan ships were intercepted by the Eritrean Navy in Eritrean waters, and that the reports were saying this unconfirmed reports, but this is from usually reliable sources that their ships were carrying arms. Well, if they were carrying arms, then Eritrea was going to impound these arms. That's just makes sense, because if it's Azerbaijan, they're taking arms where? Well, they're taking to Djibouti to deliver them to Ethiopia. And Azerbaijan receives a lot of support from Turkey. So these are probably pretty high-tech weapons that Eritrea can definitely use. But, again, it's like there's been no official announcements about arms or anything like that. So it's speculation, but I think it's reasonable speculation to say that arms that were in these ships, because why would Azerbaijan ships be coming down to Djibouti? We know that Turkey has been very supportive, militarily very supportive of Azerbaijan. The Turkish drones were the decisive factor in Azerbaijan defeating the Armenians in the war they had a few years ago. So there's a strong military link between Turkey and Azerbaijan, and the Bakhtiar drones that Turkey provides them are very valuable to them. And we know that Ethiopia has been buying drones, usually financed by the United Arab Emirates, UAE. But so UAE is probably financing all of this, and Azerbaijan's deniability factor for Turkey, Azerbaijan sending the drones to Ethiopia. That's the most lucid scenario. What's going on here? Again, Eritrea never says anything about these sort of interceptions. I mean, the brief statements confirm that they've actually intercepted these ships, but they're not going to talk about what they were carrying, or but by now all the arms have been unloaded, the Eritreans distributing them to their military. And so, hey, like I said, thank you, Azerbaijan, for your donation of these high-tech weapons to Eritrea. We need them. The strength of Eritrea is not so much the weapons, it's the people. I mean, the people, they're united, they're conscious, and they'll tolerate just incredible, to overcome the trials of the Eritrean people have faced. And that's the thing that impressed me in the 15 years I lived in Eritrea, was that the Eritrean people are really, it's not just consciousness, it's the strength of the Eritrean people, the unity of the Eritrean people. We got there in 2006, and they'd been through the first 2-year drought in history, 2003, 2004. And this was just when Eritrea was recovering from the TPLF invasion of 2000, which displaced 40% of the Eritrean population. 40% of the Eritrean population was displaced. I mean, can you imagine here in the United States if 40% of the population was displaced? I mean, you're talking about 130 million people were just in a matter of a week or two were driven from their homes with their clothes on their back. So Eritrea had been through all this just like 5 or 6 years before we got there. And then, you know, shortly after we got there, the next year, 2008, 2 years after we got there, Eritrea was hit by another 2-year drought. So there was, you know, back-to-back 2-year droughts, which the country has never seen before. And Eritrea has been an agriculturally based economy. So to have all the rainfall, agriculture fail twice within a few years was a major challenge. And then the United States, through the UN Insecurity Council, put these illegal sanctions on Eritrea to cripple Eritrea further. And, you know, so Eritrea was getting hammered when we got there, and it just got worse and worse and worse. I mean, the Eritrean people were just really tolerating some really hard times. I mean, you know, the electric cuts, water coming once a month. You know, life is hard. And so, you know, that's what I've been impressed of, the strength of the Eritrean people and how they can, you know, they're not going to just give up. I mean, you've had Tabor Nagy and now this Michael Rubin. Before then, we had other people everybody from the School of Oriental and African Studies saying that it's not a question of when, but not a question of if, but when Eritrea is going to collapse. And, you know, we've had the crisis management or crisis group saying, oh, Eritrea is, it's going to failed state. And, you know, this has been going on practically since we got to Eritrea in 2006. So it's just sort of a regular procession of liars for hire, paid lackeys. Their job is to try to scare investment off and damage the Eritrean people's morale in the diaspora. I mean, the Eritrean diaspora has been critical to support the country. I mean, the hundreds of millions of dollars every year that Eritrean diaspora has contributed to their government has kept the country, you know, helped the country survive. It's been critical. So, you know, whatever they can do to hassle and impede the diaspora from supporting the country, they will. So, you know, they use their I call them their mainstream media to get out there and spread these lies. We've heard it for a long time. And in general, my position is like, don't give these guys free publicity. I mean, you know, if they're going to say it, they're going to say it. And, you know, our job is to get a grasp of what's really going on and don't pay any attention to these guys. These guys are liars for hire. Well, Trump is, you know, for one, it's hard to predict Trump. He's very volatile. I mean, you know, he posted up Jeffrey Sachs, Professor Sachs's interview recently, where Sachs called Netanyahu a dark son of a bitch. Yeah. You know, and what? And I was like, I thought, oh, this must have been a mistake, because the interview started off with Sachs talking about Barack Obama, being very critical of Barack Obama and helping start ISIS and Daesh. But Trump didn't invite Netanyahu to his inauguration. And on top of that, the Israeli media, the Israeli leadership, these war criminal leadership of Israel has been complaining about the fact that Trump is forcing them to accept a ceasefire deal with Hamas. They want to continue the genocide. And Trump seems like he's doing something to put an end to it. And based upon how rabid Trump has been supporting Israel, this has come as a complete shock. I guess he personally must hate Netanyahu. Of course, everybody pretty much hates Netanyahu. But for many years, I've said all roads to peace in the Horn of Africa run through Asmara. And there's been so many examples of that, you know, it's over and over again. I mean, they're right now in Sudan, you know, a few days ago, the Egyptian foreign minister said that Eritrea is involved in supporting General Burhan's army. Now, people were sort of suspected that going back several months when the tide started to turn, when the Sudanese army under General Burhan's leadership started to become more successful and take the offensive. And in the last month or so, it's been dramatic. And so, you know, there were a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, there were people who have been suspecting that Eritrea has been involved because there's this sudden turnaround like this. And, you know, the Egyptian foreign minister has come out and said that Eritrea is involved in, quote unquote, training the Sudanese. So, I mean, it's clear there's been a big turnaround as Sudanese armies become effective. This foreign intervention by the UAE on behalf supporting General Hemeti and his rebellion, attempted coup, just like UAE supporting the gangster regime in Ethiopia headed by Abiy Ahmed. This is foreign intervention in the Horn of Africa, and Eritrea has been responding to it. And I think this bodes well for eventual bringing peace to Sudan and ending this insane civil war that's been going on. So, Eritrea's active involvement in bringing peace to the Horn of Africa. Now, this is part and parcel of Eritrea has to develop its own economy. It has to become strong and self-sufficient. And, the PFDJ, the Popular Front for Democracy and Justice, which is the offshoot of the EPLF, Eritrean People's Liberation Front, is going to be holding its fourth Congress is coming here. And they're going to be laying out, for the Eritrean people to see and study, develop what they see is coming up. And basically for the next 10 years, and, what's going to happen in Eritrea. And a part of that, they'll be laying out, what the foreign policy is going to be, what the domestic policy is going to be, so I think there's going to be, this next year is going to be a turning point for Eritrea. I mean, Eritrean people are still suffering. I mean, there's still lack of electricity, still lack of water, and the economy is still struggling. But, the good thing is the mining industry is now beginning to step up. Well, the Abiy regime is going to fall. It's not if, it's when. And I wasn't sure if it even last to the end of 2024. Things are very shaky. I mean, he's got an armed rebellion led by the Amhara Fano army now, which all four branches are now apparently united and coordinating their actions. Abiy just announced that they're bringing in armed drones to patrol Addis Ababa. In other words, Abiy's worried about Fano being able to operate openly in Addis Ababa and prepare for running him out, chasing him back to become a resident of Mengistu's guest cottage in Zimbabwe. So, things are pretty shaky in Ethiopia. And Abiy's not, I don't think how long he's going to last. I don't know. He's continued to be propped up by external forces. The Europeans are still supporting him. UAE supports him. So, but things are just going from bad to worse in Ethiopia. I mean, benzene prices are fuel prices, electric prices are just skyrocketing. And so, inflation, there's no foreign currency. Abiy is, getting wheat from Russia, and God knows what he's doing, selling it to get cash to feather his nest or pay for his exile or whatever. But I mean, Abiy's been flailing around, trying to find a way to divert popular discontent with his leadership of the country. We're going to get the Red Sea back for us, and we're going to have a port in Somalia and all this stuff. This is all basically propaganda on Abiy's part, for public consumption. It's just none of it's realistic. It's not going to happen. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Somali leadership is going to, make some concessions to Abiy. But I mean, he's not in a position to come in and fund a port. I mean, maybe the UAE is going to pay for it, but the Somali people, I don't think they're going to accept it. I mean, the Somalis and Ethiopia are historically enemies. So to have Ethiopia army inside Somalia once again, I don't see the Somali people accepting it. So I don't know about Somalia. It's a very complicated situation. I mean, you've got this importation of large numbers of Daesh or jihadists into Puntland, northern Somalia. And, Puntland, the army is having to go up and wipe these guys out because they're foreigners. They're not Somalis. And then, it's going to bring terrorism to their region. So, there's a lot of destabilizing foreign, who's paying for these guys? How can they come down there from all of these countries like Syria and Libya and these other places and destabilize Somalia? So Somalia is, a very complicated, fractious country with a history of, Somalia's never historically really had a king. The first real leader of United Somalia was Syed Barre, was one of the great Pan-Africanists in the post-World War II era. And, what's going on in Somalia is very complicated, and what's going to happen is tough. I mean, Eritrea has been training the Somali security forces, trying to drive out Al-Shabaab, where they've been getting their money from. I mean, the former head of intelligence for Somalia said that Al-Shabaab's been getting their money from the Arabs. So, I mean, this is like okay, there's external interference in Somalia. There's an external interference in Sudan. There's external interference in Ethiopia. So Eritrea is there working hard to try to stabilize the Horn of Africa, and all roads to peace in the Horn of Africa run through Asmara. So, the big hope right now we're having is that Sudan is going to have peace, because Sudan's a large country, and this has just been a disaster. And Eritrea has been; these are our neighbors, and to have Sudan, just millions of people starving and warfare, and this big problem is Eritrea really was benefiting with trade and commerce with Sudan, and have all that collapse. And in Ethiopia to go, become hostile again after what looked like was going to be peace in 2018. Again, the big neighbor next to Eritrea is to have civil war and look like it might be breaking up. So, Eritrea is working hard. There's no question. They're trying to stabilize the Horn of Africa. And now that we've confirmed that Eritrea is involved in, supporting General Burhan militarily, hopefully that's going to be seeing an end of Hemeti and the UAE's intervention in Sudan and bring peace to Sudan, which God knows the Sudanese people need.
كبرى سمعتنا بنايلوم معلتي مرباتنا عجيبكم كتكونوا تسفى أقبر
That's what